Hi friends, I've got a wonderful conversation today for us. This is a company called CapillaryTechnologies,
Right.
and they are into the customer engagement platforms for large retail brands. Right?
Okay.
Would that be a fair way of describing it?
I think customer engagement for all kinds of retailers.
All kinds
being
of
on the
retailers.
cloud, I think
Being
that's
on
a
the
big
cloud.
that's a big advantage.
So very interesting partners here. You know, Anish and Krishna, who is not here. Krishna is now married and on a honeymoon or something.
Yeah, he's on a honeymoon.
So Anish has a degree BTech from IIT Kharagpur, 2006. He worked for a couple of years and then he came into this. And they've done something quite exciting. They have about 20 million people on their platform, 20 million consumers. They've got about 6,000 stores in India. And they have about 3 to 4 million transactions every month that they are responsible for. And they are cloud-based as well. So you've got all the buzzwords covered on the planet right now under the technology space, hey?
Hopefully, yeah.
Perfect. So Anish, without further ado, do you want to get into what the business is, what the model is? You know, how do you hope to make your business a $1 billion IPO?
Perfect. So we kind of work in the space between mobile, social, and retail. And when we kind of started off, what we realized was, most consumers are not comfortable filling forms, carrying cards, and things like that. And a lot of technologies like social and mobile were just beginning to happen. And most retailers didn't know how to use them well. So we said, can we build an interesting business between social, mobile, and retail? And what helped us a lot was the fact that most of retail is a very cash-conserving business. So all of these guys came back to us and said, look, we cannot pay for anything for a software or anything like that. They're cool, pay us on a per month, per store kind of a basis. So that's how we moved the entire model onto the cloud, and it's a SaaS-based solution. And because it's like that, anyone, whether you have 2 stores or whether you have 100 stores, can afford you. So in our client base, out of the 6,000 stores that we work with, we actually have about 200 clients for 1 store each, who pay us on a per store per month. And we also work with some of the largest retailers in the country in terms of a Raymond or a Madra Garments or a Puma or a Benetton or most of these guys. So the interesting side is also that even if you look at internationally, cloud CRMs for retail haven't taken off very well. And that's where we've got very good traction both in the Middle East, UK as well as Singapore. So in the Middle East we work with Levi's, Dockers, Home Saras, The Face Shop. In Singapore we work with the largest departmental store there called Robinsons, and with Pizza Hut, who's a common client between India and Singapore. Similarly, we have clients also in the UK. So I think if you were to look at the whole the space of cloud-based CRMs and the way social and mobile are changing the world in terms of the way brands interact with consumers, primarily, there's a very large change that's going to happen, and hopefully we are riding the change. So.
Talk to us about your moment of epiphany in your business. Where did you get this? Oh, this is the thing that I need to target. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you started off with an entirely different idea and you've come to this, I'm sure. Or was this always your vision? How did you get here?
No, so actually, to give you an honest viewpoint, none of us had any clue on retail. Between Krishna and me, Krishna is a computer science grad. I'm a mechanical engineer. I used to run maintenance for a factory which makes cigarettes, in ITC. So. When we spoke to a lot of retailers, one question that did come up from a lot of them was the way they used to handle customer engagement. And that seemed like a very open problem, and with things like the mobile and social coming in, we knew there could be something that could be done. So we spoke to about 50 odd retailers before deciding this is what we want to do. That included very small guys with 2-3 stores in Calcutta, to a Bata, to a Peter England, to someone like a Future Growth. And the common problem with most of these guys had was this, and this was around September 2008, when Lehman just tanked, and there was, pretty much everyone's sales were down by 20%. Yeah, so I think we were lucky in terms of timing there, but yeah. So as these guys spoke of it, and we also spoke about that with a lot of retailers internationally. A year down, once India business started doing well, and we heard the same stories there. That's where we kind of felt bang on. This is what I think out of luck.
That's what I'm born to do.
Yeah, kind of, and it's a very interesting business in the sense that so most of it's unlike typical way in which CRMs are looked at in terms of as a competitive differentiator. We actually help retailers build a better top line and a better bottom line. So it's not a good to have thing. It's a it's a should have thing with especially if you're making a profit and if you're seeing a 5-6% growth in sales.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And as retail gets into the mode of moving from real estate, expansion to operational efficiency and customer engagement, I think your product is going to take off a lot more faster, for sure.
Yeah.
So what's it about the back end that's so different? How are you different from your run-of-the-mill guy that makes the same promise as you guys do?
Right. So I think the major difference is, one is it's all in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So your time to go live is less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike typical, being a marketing, I'm sure you'll understand that whenever you want to implement technology, your IT team would promise you a good
a year
to implement it. Unlike that, we're very quick on the results.
Mm-hmm.
And second side is unlike typical CRMs, which where you fill data in the store, it takes a month to analyze it, and you start actioning it out, a couple of months down. We actually, being on the cloud, we can do a lot of the analysis real time.
Mm-hmm.
And hence almost all our engagement happens real time. So we talk to a customer when they're still in the store. Unlike,
so what would that be? So somebody is walking out of the store with a whatever.
Right. So let's say you rate between 20 and 30. You picked up a pair of jeans.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to you about shorties.
Mm-hmm.
While if it's someone aged between 40 and 50, and I picked up a jeans again, I talk to them about.
So this is the deal, right? So that means that this person has picked up a tight jeans and walking out of the store. Before she's out of the store, she gets an SMS about 5-10 seconds after the billing is done,
right,
which tells give you 10% off on your t-shirts, on my t-shirts if you bought a t-shirt here, which I think is quite cool. It's very different, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And does it work? Has that been implemented somewhere?
Yeah. So so most of our retailers do use it. This part of the feature. And we see about 8 to 10% of customers actually walk back and buy the second item.
Okay.
8 to
10%.
Yeah. So
guys, imagine 100% coupon rate, and this is 10% conversion. I'm impressed.
Absolutely. In fact, in markets abroad, like the Middle East, you see much higher conversions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just about being at the right place at the right time and giving the right kind of incentive or an offer to you. So we talk to you about what you would have bought ideally. So it's very specific to who you are, and
so it's the old analogy, right? The right kind of advertising is not advertising, it's content, right? So
exactly.
Absolutely. Excellent, excellent. And it's quite, tell me something about some difference, this is what you never expected to see out of your platform, this kind of behavior. What kind of, anecdotes do you have about that kind of, this was something that I didn't expect.
Right, so in fact, we were taken a lot by surprise with the kind of traction we got from the smaller retailers.
Mm-hmm.
We always saw it as an enterprise product with you need 50 stores or more to buy it, etc., etc. But once we started just getting into the market of saying, okay, because you're on the cloud, there's no additional cost of getting a client on.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, cool, let's just sell it through partners, through a Tally network kind of a thing. And the pace at which they started lapping it up, it's been 3 to 4 months now, and we have about 200 odd stores.
So between the ISV and direct sales, what is the proportion of your sales?
So right now it's still very nascent, because I think the way you'd want to do it as first perfect a model for the smaller guys.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have 5,000 people using it with still kinks in the way you want to serve them, etc., etc. There we started a private beta, and we've had 3 rounds of renewals. Everyone's renewed, which kind of took us by surprise, because the general anecdote is the guy running his own store, he must know all his consumers, he will never go for a CRM. But that doesn't seem to be true. Which is one good side. The other wow moment for us was international traction we got.
Mm-hmm.
We never really thought international retailers would be very comfortable with sharing data on the cloud and things like that. But I think if you have the right kind of a business prop for them, the kind of guys that we work both in the Middle East and in Singapore are market leaders there.
Fantastic.
And it's just because the value prop is there.
Okay. So what does market leader mean? Mohammed Mustafa?
Someone who's 3 times size of Mohammed Mustafa.
Wow, okay. But okay, I see. Excellent.
No, actually, so Robinsons does about 600 million from 3 stores.
Oh,
Mustafa does about 100 million from 1 store.
I see.
So
okay.
that's the...
Brilliant, excellent. Yeah. So you got Mustafa Kabab, right? In some senses. Excellent.
But Mustafa, I think, having been to that store. Yeah.
Fair enough. Tell me a little bit more about your personal journey. You and Krishna, right? Krishna Mehra.
Right. So Krishna and me were ringmates at IIT. She's a computer science engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer. And, so back in IIT in 2006, we kind of set up the entrepreneurship cell at IIT. So we always knew we would start up at some point in time. It was just that when.
Mm-hmm.
And when we set up the cell, we did a very intelligent thing of saying, startups which come out of IIT will get a 15 lakh seed loan. So if you're making money, pay it back. If you're not making money, it's written off. And the IIT gets a 3% stake for it. You know, the idea being you get an upside on
Right.
what does well. So 2 years later, when we kind of quit and said, let's start up, went back to IIT, we got the 15 lakh loan, we paid it back now. And, you know, so we pretty much knew that, in fact, if you look at even Capillary as a company, out of the 185 people in the company now, about 35 would be from IIT Kharagpur. You know, and if you were to add the entire network of IIT bits and NITs, which is again, you know, friends and friends and friends, that kind of a thing, it's about 50 to 55 guys right there.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah, it's a very college kind of an atmosphere, you know. But again, a lot of them have worked for a couple of years. So, yeah, so it's been a very nice journey.
Yeah, that's excellent. So, the last question for you, Anish, is, so, you know, what do you see in the market that's going to propel you towards a $1 billion IPO?
Right. So I think as a product, we have something which works both well in India and internationally. And the good side is a lot of our clients that we work with are present across geographies, like a Pizza Hut or a Puma or a Benetton or any of these. In fact, about 65% of international brands which have come into India and retail in India work with us right now. So I think where, and the good side is a lot of these brands are taking us out. In terms of Pizza Hut India getting us into Singapore, similarly we have Benetton India taking us to Benetton Japan, and you know, one of our clients in the Middle East took us to Robinsons. They actually own Robinsons in Singapore. So that's how the spread has happened. And for all these guys, I think what we're able to do with mobile and social is very different from what they see in CRMs across their own geographies.
Fantastic.
So I think that growth is surely something which has been driving us, you know, to work much harder and expand into more geographies. So the other thing is, as I said earlier, social and mobile being game changers in the way most brands will interact with customers. I think if we're able to write that change well, we surely reach those numbers.
I think that's a very important thing. And how will you fund it? You know.
Yeah. So we kind of initially started with IIT Kharagpur, giving us a 15 lakh seed loan. And here down, we won this event called the Qualcomm Q Prize. So they kind of do have a business plan event across 5 geographies where they invest on wireless technologies. So we came first in India, and we were second among 600 teams internationally. So they put in about $500,000 is what they had put in. The other thing that we did is we kind of said
$500,000 USD.
Yeah, $500,000 USD. Yeah, and we said at the same point in time, we kind of said, let's go and get guys who can help us with scale up faster. So we have a bunch of very interesting guys as investors. So there's Harminder, who's the MD at Technopack. Then we've Rajan Anandan, who's the MD at Google. A bunch of international investors in the sense that the guy who heads PwC in Middle East, the CMO for Vodafone Worldwide. So a bunch of very interesting people who kind of helped us break into these geographies as well as you know, scale up much faster.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're well sorted on that front, huh? You got all the advice you need.
Oh yeah, kind of. But anyone willing to put more money, let us know.
Brilliant. Thanks a ton now, and best of luck with your the grand plans and the grand launches.
Yeah.
Do well. I'm sure you will continue to.
Thanks so much.